Hey guys, welcome to my Bennett DPS guide. In this video, there will be timestamps for each section regarding to Bennett. Feel free to skip any parts so you can get the information that you need. Bennett is a support/DPS pyro sword user, but is mainly used as a support due to his amazing healing and damage buffing capabilities. While I do agree that he is a good support, he is also a good DPS dealer as well. In this video, we talk about his talents, constellations, what weapons/artifacts to build, and some tips and tricks on how to properly use them. So before we demonstrate his basic attacks, here's some information on how each attack scales. Notice how the last two hits do the most damage out of the whole combo. Even though they do big damage, we are actually going to avoid using it. I will tell you why later in the tips/tricks section of the video. Alright, when it comes to basic attacks, Benny actually has 5 combination of attacks. And I just call him Benny, short nickname for Bennett. So yeah, 5 attacks. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Notice how the first two, they're pretty quick, and afterwards the third, fourth, and fifth attack, they're pretty slow. His charge attack, pretty simple. Just 2 quick, swift attacks. That's it. Alright, next up we have his E, or elemental skill, Passion Overload. So here is the scalings for each of the damage, the press, the charge level 1 and charge level 2. And here's the cooldown duration for each level. Keep that in mind. This is very important during the demonstration. Alright, let's demonstrate his elemental skill. So, like I said, there's 3 levels. You got the press, level 1 charge, and level 2 charge. So the press is just a simple flame sword slash that does pyro damage. And then level 1 is 2 hits. The second hit launching most enemies up in the air. And then we'll wait for our cooldown here. Level 2 charge, 3 hits. Last one launching you and the enemy back. Notice the cooldown duration for most of these skills just vary depending on how much you charge it. And yeah, pretty much it. Alright. So finally we have Benny's Elemental Burst, which is Fantastic Voyage. So here are the scalings. So Fantastic Voyage is essentially a huge AoE burst that does, for me, 326% of his damage. And then inside this huge AoE, Benny gets 2 options. If his HP is below 70%, he gets continuous regeneration of HP. If his HP is above 70%, he gets a certain attack bonus ratio damage buff. Notice that this attack bonus ratio buff is only applied towards your base attack. So it's not going to be all your attack, just your base attack. So 78% of that stacked onto what you currently have. That's it. All right. A lot of people tend to forget this and they just end up stacking a lot of damage, and then they're doing the math and they're asking, shouldn't Benny have way more damage than what he has now? No. It's only based off your base attack damage, like 78% of it. And it's also a 15-second cooldown, which is pretty good. Pretty short, to be honest. If you have enough energy recharge, you can probably cast it again after the cooldown's over. Alright, before we demonstrate his elemental burst, let's look at our current stats. So I currently have about 1900 attack. Alright, shut up, Benny. So yeah, I have 1900 attack, and currently my HP is above 70%. So as soon as I use my elemental burst, I'm gonna get that attack damage buff instead. So yeah, let's use it. And as you can see, it's a pretty huge AoE. Ideally, you want to fight in this AoE because this is where you get most of your damage and sustain. So this AoE lasts for about, 12 seconds. Oh, wait. Let's check the damage. So my damage now with Benny is about 2600. That's about a 700 damage increase right there. That just basically shows how much damage Benny can support somebody or himself. So yeah, like I was saying earlier, the AoE is about 12 seconds, while the Elemental Burst itself is a 15-second cooldown. So you have a lot of time to get your elemental burst back during those 12 seconds. So yeah, now we're gonna talk about the three important talents that makes Benny a amazing DPS character. The first one, it should be safe. When dispatched on an expedition in Mondstadt, time consumed is reduced by 20 foot. Wait, that doesn't make him a good team. We're gonna ignore this one, all right? This doesn't matter. All right. So for your first ascension, you're gonna get a passive talent called Rekindle. This decreases your elemental skill cooldown by 20%. Not too bad. You get to use your E more often. But the best passive talent is when you get to your fourth ascension, which is Fear Not. So essentially, summarizing all of this, whenever Benny is in his Elemental Burst AoE, he gets two effects. His Elemental Skill cooldown gets an additional 50% on top of that 20% for Rekindle, and whenever you charge your Elemental Skill at level 2, he will not be launched back. In my opinion, I don't really charge up my Elemental Skill at all during this AoE. I'd rather just spam the E button so I can get enough damage and energy recharge so that I can have my elemental burst back up after it's over. So you can essentially just keep spamming that elemental burst and doing crazy amounts of damage. That's how I would use it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. These two passive talents is what makes Benny a good DPS. Alright, let's talk about Benny's constellations. Starting with the first one, Grand Expectation. Basically, whenever you're in your elemental burst, your restriction on attack is gone. So whether you're 70% above or below your HP, you will always get this attack buff. Just notice that once you're above 70% HP, you stop healing. Second constellation in Past Conqueror, you're getting an additional energy recharge of 30% whenever your HP is low. This is pretty useful for getting your elemental burst up whenever you're low HP and you're wanting to heal. Third constellation, Unstoppable Fervor. You're getting 3 free levels for your elemental skill. Fourth constellation, Unexpected Odyssey. So whenever you're using your elemental skill and you're charging it up to level 1, after you finish the whole attack sequence, if you do a left click, you do another additional attack that does this amount of damage right here. 135% of the second attack's damage. Alright, fifth constellation. Am I saying constellation or constellation? It's probably the latter, but fifth constellation, True Explorer. You're getting 3 free levels on your elemental burst. And finally, your sixth, sixth, that's a hard word. Sixth constellation, Fire Adventures with Me. So whenever you're in your elemental burst, all your attacks now do pyro damage, and you gain a 15% pyro damage bonus. And that's pretty much it for the constellation. And I guess a notice on my guide is that you don't want to get a C6 Benny because this guide is built on physical damage DPS. So if your C6 Benny turns that attack into pyro damage, all the bonuses you get from the physical damage bonus percent stat just goes away. Like it does not affect this. It's basically useless now. So what I'm saying is only go C6 Benny if you're investing in a pyro damage build, Benny. Yeah. All right, let's talk about weapons for Benny. So the best weapon of all time for Benny, based on this guide, is the Aquila Favonia. The reason why is because it has the highest base damage attack, and if you notice here, it's also a 25% increase on his attack and other miscellaneous stuff here. But also the secondary stat, physical damage bonus. This is so important because this allows you to do more damage on your basic attacks, which are the white numbers you see on the screen. And this also helps bypass some of the high physical defense enemies, such as like the golem or whoever. Now, I understand that not everybody is going to pull the Aquila Favonia because it's a gacha item. So some good substitutes would be, let's see, would be the flute, the prototype Rancor, and I think that's pretty much it in terms of replaceable items. You get the prototype Rancor easily by the smith, so this should be a 100% you will always have. The flute is just a gacha item that you'll get randomly. So if you have to choose between two, it doesn't matter. You could choose prototype Rancor for the physical damage bonus or the flute for just the straight up extra attack percentage. And yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to weapons. Alright, let's talk about artifacts. So currently I have a two-piece set for the Gladiator set and the two-piece set for Berserker because I am so unlucky with RNG in terms of stats. But ideally, you want to build the full Gladiators Finale set. That is the main go-to whenever you're close to endgame. If you're not close to endgame, a good substitute is what I have right now, is the Gladiators Finale, 18% attack bonus, and then the Berserker set, which is a 12% crit rate bonus. You can also do two different sets that give you 18% attack, whatever works with you. But ideally, the stats that you want to go for, the stats you want to go for is in this order: attack percentage, attack, crit rate, crit damage, and energy recharge. So yeah, why attack percentage? Well, I mean, that pre attack percentage is basically your overall damage, and this is a DPS guide, so you need a high attack. Now, why crit rate over crit damage? Because late game, crit damage is not that important if you can't hit that crit damage. Crit rate is so much more important because of consistency. If you can't land your crits on a daily basis, then there's no point in building high crit damage. This is a DPS guide, not highest damage guide. So, yeah. So afterwards, after all that, you have energy recharge. Just get as much as you can because the quicker you can get your elemental burst, the more damage you're gonna do, or healing you're gonna do. That's basically it. Now, regarding to what I said earlier about physical damage bonus percentage, so, well, right here, this stat right here, if you have a sword that doesn't have this as a substat, then you might want to check into your goblet artifacts and see if you can pull a physical damage bonus percentage main stat to replace it. Because that's how you get big damage white numbers with Benny. It's having some sort of a physical damage bonus stat, whether it's like 30% or 50%. In my case, it's not max level yet, it's not level 80. A goblet would probably provide more physical damage bonus because you can level it up more times and the multiplier is a bit different compared to weapons. But either way, like I said, if you don't have an Aquila Favonia replacement, you can easily do the flute. Just make sure you get a goblet that has physical damage bonus percentage. Or, if you don't have the flute, just get the prototype Rancor and just literally ignore what I just said about the goblet. Just go for attack percentage. Yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to artifacts. Alright, here's the tips and tricks section of the video. This is basically how I play Benny. You can play however you want to play Benny, but I find this to be the most efficient way for me. I don't know about you guys, but it's efficient. So let's talk about basic attacks. We know Benny's basic attacks are a combination of 5, such as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. If you notice, the first 2 hits, they're pretty quick, but afterwards, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th attack, they're pretty slow. What you want to do to attack quicker is auto charge. Auto charge. It's definitely way quicker than doing your whole combo because it takes a while. The advantages of doing this is that you can gain more energy quicker for your elemental burst while your elemental skill is on cooldown. So let's say you're using your elemental skill, you can do this while you wait for it to come up, use it again, and you're basically alternating back and forth until your elemental burst is up. Second tip, if your elemental skill and elemental burst is up at the same time, always use your elemental skill first, always, and then go into your elemental burst. That way, you're not wasting DPS and time going into your burst and then using your elemental skill. Because if you're already level 70 with Benny, you get that 70% cooldown reduction. So as soon as you use that elemental skill and go into your burst, you should have that elemental skill back ASAP. So you're just missing out on more DPS essentially if you use your burst first. And talking about elemental skill, if you ever find yourself stuck on charging, you can always animation cancel by dashing. So let's say you're charging to level 2 like this, just dash out. It's way better than using the whole combo and then taking damage from the enemy, especially if it's in the Spiral Abyss, where every hit matters. Secondly, speaking about animation canceling, if you want to attack even quicker with the auto charge combo, you can also animation cancel the charge animation by dashing and going into another combination of auto charge, such as 1-2 dash, like that. And finally, I'm pretty sure most Benny users know this. If you don't have the level 70 Ascension passive where Benny doesn't get knocked when in his elemental burst, you can substitute that with Noel's shield or Sincho's water sword shield things. Basically, if those are on Benny, the knockback does not apply. The knockback does not apply on big enemies apparently, such as like elite bosses. I've noticed like whenever I use, a full charged E, like I don't get knocked back by them. I don't know if that's intended, but with smaller enemies, yeah, I get knocked back. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got in terms of tips and tricks. So I hope you find it useful. Alright, that's pretty much the end of this video and for the Bennett Physical DPS guide. Hopefully you guys find it helpful. Hopefully you enjoy the build. Like I said, I'm like not currently like the best build right now because of RNG. So hopefully, whenever I get my artifacts and my damage up, I can do a another DPS test video, just similar to my first video with electro hypostasis, and we can see how much Benny really do, how much damage Benny can really do. Like I said, this man. All right, shut up. This man, not a C tier. In terms of damage, I'd definitely put him at A tier. He's still, not as good as D-Luke, but he can get up there if you invest enough time in him. Well, thanks guys. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you want more, feel free to subscribe, leave a like, comment, whatever, or you have some suggestions on what I should do, drop a comment down. If you want to see me do the Spiral Abyss with Benny only, drop a comment. If you want another guide or like, I love it when this guy interrupts me. If you want to see like anything else, just drop a comment and subscribe too, please. So I know that people watch me. Okay, bye.